Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bachelor Nation official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The brilliant lone wolf's Gerry Turner attempted to interface with unhitched male country after his season reached a conclusion, and I'm enraged that he left the brilliant single girl Joan Vassos with a significant wreck to tidy up. Presented as the lead of the brilliant lone wolf Season 1, Gerry was intended to be a healthy, weak single man who was searching for adoration in his subsequent demonstration in the wake of losing his significant other startlingly. Getting to know a cast of ladies who were dynamic and silly, Gerry took on the job effortlessly and endeavored to guarantee that he was bona fide every step of the way. Despite the fact that Gerry's genuineness in his associations with the ladies of the brilliant lone wolf, Season 1 appeared to be out of this world, things started to get awkward around the finish of the time, when Gerry and his cast were walloped by embarrassment. An ex uncovered Gerry's conduct before his experience as the single-man country lead, and keeping in mind that she decided to stay unknown, her accounts were verified. While Gerry had neglected to specify any of his past connections on the show, his way of behaving was clarified to Lone Ranger Country, who felt insulted by the way that Gerry hadn't been blunt by any means. During the brilliant unhitched male Season 1, Gerry was portrayed as the healthy, sweet single man who was searching for affection without understanding what he was doing. It was obvious to Lone Wolf Country that Gerry required the assistance of the series to take on another relationship. At the point when it was revealed that Gerry's past hadn't been the manner in which he'd depicted, with next to no sentiment after his late spouse had passed in 2017, many were wounded by the way that he'd attempted to play Lone Wolf Country. Despite the fact that Gerry had been somebody the brilliant unhitched male watchers wanted to watch, his standing failed. After Gerry's union with Teresa Nist finished after only 3 months together, things were intense for the brilliant unhitched male star. Gerry attempted to fix his standing via online entertainment. However, it wasn't something that watchers appeared to be keen on hearing. Realizing that Gerry had been equipped for lying and apparently cheating the viewership, Lone Wolf Country lost their confidence in the previous lead and didn't know where to go straight away. Despite the fact that Gerry had an extraordinary standing while the brilliant single guy was broadcasting, things took a turn when his untruths made up for lost time to him. While Gerry attempted to restore his standing, first with his union with Teresa and afterward, when that finished with his web-based entertainment presence, single guy country saw through his stir. With Gerry in the doghouse for the majority of unhitched male country, many have been worried about pushing ahead with the brilliant single woman, the establishment's most up-to-date spin-off. Joan, who left Gerry's season right on time for her family, is assuming the test of turning into the following lead in spite of Lone Wolf Country's reluctance. Joan's experience as the brilliant unhitched female will be a test for single guy country. While she's an extraordinary decision for the lead, having passed on Gerry's season to assist her little girl with a pregnancy which made a cover of secret around her character, there's a reluctance from Lone Wolf Country to help the series. After Gerry's trickery, Joan should rehearse an elevated degree of legitimacy and be totally straightforward in her decision production to win back Lone Wolf Country's trust. While Joan never really lost their trust, there's a distinction between Lone Wolf Country and the brilliant single woman side of the establishment. Despite the fact that Joan never really lost the trust of the watchers, her season will be a represent the deciding moment second for the establishment's most up-to-date spin-off series. Gerry made a split between the people who confided in the show and the individuals who didn't, and his conduct clarified that the show would not have been ready to work without fair realness any longer. With Joan's season, Lone Ranger Country will be scrutinized. While Joan will take her own excursion on the brilliant unhitched female, the mess of Gerry's experience as the lead will be a piece of her inheritance. However, Joan is her own individual, she must tidy up the wreck that Gerry made, which I feel is certainly not a fair situation for her to be in. Joan must interpretation of twofold the strain as the lead, making her experience as the brilliant Lone Rangeress considerably more troublesome. I accept that the brilliant Lone Wolfess will be a significant test for the brilliant unhitched male side of the establishment. With Joan as the lead, endeavoring to guarantee that her fair, bona fide truth is in plain view for the world, Lone Wolf Country will have the chance to choose if they accept the series will merit the publicity. With Joan in charge, ideally the issues Gerry tossed in with the general mishmash will not confound the brilliant Lone Rangeress more than needed. The brilliant Lone Wolfess Season 1 as of late debuted, and an upsetting disclosure around one of the men competing for Joan Vassos' heart has prompted allegations that makers aren't safeguarding their lead. Joan, a 65-year-old tuition-based school executive from Maryland, made her TV debut during the debut time of the brilliant Lone Wolf. Joan was one of 22 great more established ladies seeking 72-year-old Gerry Turner's last rose. After a couple of episodes of the unscripted Single Man spin-off, Joan had a family crisis and chosen to early leave the show. It might have been the finish of Joan's experience on Gerry's season, yet it wasn't the finish of Joan's single guy country experience, as she was given a role as the brilliant Lone Wolfess. The season's most memorable episode debuted as of late, and Joan was acquainted with 24 fabulous single men from everywhere the country. Joan's blessing from heaven hit an unfortunate obstacle when it was as of late found that one of the men dating Joan wasn't who he gave off an impression of being. It's difficult to comprehend how makers missed the data while projecting the brilliant unhitched female Season 1. Gil Ramirez, a 60-year-old instructor from Mission Viejo, California, got one of Joan's roses during the debut of the brilliant unhitched female Season 1. However, he didn't accept Joan's initial feeling rose, an honor that went to 62-year-old Keith. Gil established enough of a connection with Joan to be approached to keep close by for basically one more week. In his pre-show interview, Gil depicted himself as a heartfelt and says that his #1 book is Scaffolds of Madison Province. As per individuals, Gil's ex recorded a limiting request against him around 90 days prior, blaming him for following. The lady asserted he connected with her and her family, and said that he would make an appearance to places he realized she'd be to go up against her. The explanation makers had close to zero insight into it is that he passed their individual verification before the limiting request was documented. As such, it occurred in the window between the historical verification and the beginning of creation. In any case, a great deal can occur in a couple of months, so it's difficult to envision that makers didn't check again nearer to the beginning of the brilliant Lone Rangeress Season 1 creation. The controlling request was in the end dropped. Perhaps assuming Gil had been straightforward with the makers, he wouldn't look so awful at this point. However, Joan appeared to like Gil all right. The unscripted TV journalist Reality Steve uncovered imprint was not one of Joan's last two men and was not the champ of Joan's last rose. Despite how far Gil goes on the show, this makes certain to be the keep-going time he shows up on an unhitched male country show. ABC has detailed that since the data became exposed, they've altered down Gil's as of now restricted screen time. Fortunately, there are a lot of qualified men on the brilliant Lone Wolfess season, one who might pass an exhaustive personal investigation.